welcome to Olsem Wanem. Have you ever wondered how many well-resourced public libraries we have in existence throughout the country? Have you ever questioned the significant role which reading books play in self-development? In this week's episode, we highlight the advantages of having public libraries, and we also focus on the reading culture of Papua New Guinea.
When Papua New Guinea gained independence in 1975, libraries were also established around the country. However, one by one, these libraries began to disappear. Most of this happened when the government underwent the decentralization process, leaving the responsibilities of maintaining provincial public libraries to provincial governments.
At the time of independence, we had public libraries in basically all centers in Papua New Guinea, including two districts in Morobe. District libraries as Bulolo and Wau Public Library. Up to now, most libraries have closed because in 1978, the government went through a decentralization process where the functions of the public libraries were transferred to the provincial government. And so provincial governments were responsible for funding of public libraries in the provinces. Since then, many public libraries have closed in most provinces. And right now we have only a handful of public libraries operating. That is the Alatau Public Library, Goroka Public Library in Eastern Highlands, Kondiawa Public Library, Rabaul Public Library. I think that's all, plus the Wau Public Library is still open now. So you can see provincial governments that had seen the importance of the public library had maintained those services, whereas other provinces had decided to close it, use the public library building for other purposes.
Library services have to meet the needs and demands of its users so that its services are fully utilized. Having access to well-resourced libraries is always a bonus. But have you ever wondered how useful the resources will be for people if they cannot read and make use of libraries? What would be the significance of having libraries if PNG's reading culture is very weak even in the 21st century? The question that needs to be answered is, what can we do to boost our reading culture?
I don't think a library is enough. There needs to be a culture around that library that is instilled within the people of Papua New Guinea, and that is a reading culture. There also needs to be appropriate resources in those libraries. So one of the problems we found at Buk Bilong Pikinini, while our shelves are all stocked with wonderful glossy books, a lot of these books come from overseas and they're not necessarily culturally appropriate. I remember a few years ago walking into a library, picking a book off the shelf, and it was a story about a boy called Johnny who liked playing computer games and eating pizza. And that's not necessarily a story that a child from a Papua New Guinea village is going to understand, be interested in, or be able to relate to. And that's quite a dangerous factor, because if children in Papua New Guinea start associating books with things outside of Papua New Guinea, then they'll feel that it's not within their culture or it's not in their interests to access books and literacy. And that is definitely something that we need to mitigate by providing books that can be related to by Papua New Guinean children.
The missing link for literacy and libraries is that not all the provinces have public libraries. or provincial libraries. We once upon a time had those, no longer. And we need to revive, reactivate the provincial as well as even district libraries, so that young people, like as you can see some in my background, who can have access to libraries that assist them with their schooling and their level of literacy and numeracy as well, because knowledge and skills are in the books, and children or even young or adults need to have access to information in the books and linking those to what they do every day in terms of enhancing their literacy and numeracy levels.
Instilling the love for reading is a valuable, life-enriching habit. Children who start reading at an early age will benefit in the future as reading broadens one's knowledge and understanding.
Reading habit at the moment, we don't read. The fact is that because we're an oral society, people think that, oh, imi olam to tok ta solam harim long yao na make him something. These times are over. All the information that we want to know is all recorded in the books. You have to have access to reading materials to enhance your learning and gain more information and extend your horizon to the wider world so that you know what's around you. And it makes your work a lot easier. And this is the problem I see with most of our Papua New Guineans. We don't read. We don't read, and we don't read widely. And I keep encouraging young people to read and read and read and read widely. Because if you don't do that, then your knowledge and skills will be very, very limited. And you need to extend your horizon through reading.
While there is not a strong reading culture, there is this strong storytelling culture. And I think it's a tragedy that these stories are not being written down. Because if stories are not written down, then they're not remembered, they're lost. And not only that, but they're not shared. Wonderful stories are not shared because they're not written down and people can't access them through reading. They can only access them through hearing these stories. So that brings us back to the need for libraries and for access to literacy services in Papua New Guinea. These languages and these Tumbuna stories are going to be lost, and they're not going to be shared unless the reading culture becomes more robust. And that needs to start at early childhood.
Libraries are an integral part of the reading environment, and promoting reading is the core mission of every library. However, having well-resourced libraries will not enhance the country's literacy state if we do not have a good reading habit. Thus, encouraging individuals to read will bring about their full potential.
Reading is a valuable life-enriching habit. Encouraging young children to read is the best start to their educational life. The Buk Bilong Pikinini Libraries aims to foster a love of reading and learning, raising children's aspirations, and increasing literacy rates through the establishment of children's libraries in the country.
Everyone? What's the word? Map. Let's see if you are correct.
Books play a vital role in the development of a child. Children need to develop the love for reading at an early age, and this trend will continue as they grow older. The Buk Bilong Pikinini libraries aim to instill the love for reading in children and also help them with their knowledge in phonics.
And everyone together? T. The third sound comes T.
Which will be an advantage to them when they start their formal education at the elementary level.
Access to books for children is critical. Whether that's done through libraries is debatable, but if you look at the Buk Bilong Pikinini model, it works. I know it works. I've been here for 4 years and I've seen the impacts. And how that works is we not only provide a library, we also provide an early childhood literacy service, and that is essential. You can't just provide access to books and resources without equipping them with the knowledge they need to realise the potential of those resources. And that is the story of Buk Bilong Pikinini. It did start off simply as a section in a hospital ward with books, and then we began to realise that that's all very well until children start pulling out the books and reading them upside down. So there needs to be books provided through libraries, but also with a specialised literacy program for children that is adapted to Papua New Guinean needs.
We help the children to get them to know the book, help them to that. Library is where we deliver services of reading books. So when they come in, most children at home, they don't have books. So when they come in, this is a library that we are working with children with books and reading. So when they come in the morning, while waiting for their friends, they read. Even they cannot read, but they can just look at the pictures and make up their own imaginary stories.
In order to grab the attention of small children, the methods of learning must be created in a way that will fully capture their attention.
We do the letter sound, introduce the sound for the day, and then we do the daily word. After we do the daily word, we also do our phonic songs that go with the sound for the day.
The mom and the dad make many meals. The mom and the dad make many meals for their hungry children.
However, the reading resources must relate and be comprehensible to them in order for them to relate and understand the stories that are in the books.
Many of the books and resources that children have access to in Papua New Guinea are not necessarily relatable to Papua New Guinean children. A lot of them come from Australia and from countries outside of Papua New Guinea, where even the colour of the children's faces in the books and the activities that they're doing in the stories cannot be understood by Papua New Guinean kids. Secondly, we do what our parents do. Children follow their parents, they follow their teachers, they follow role models, and there has not been a strong culture of reading instilled in Papua New Guinea as of yet. Not a lot of parents are reading and writing, and so not a lot of children are reading and writing.
Welcome back to Olsem Wanem. Parents are fully responsible for their children's education. When parents start encouraging their children to read by reading to them, it creates an environment where these children grow up to become good readers.
The love for reading must develop at home. Parents play a significant part in bringing to a child's attention how important reading is.
All children should have access to early learning opportunities because it gives them the right start in life. It gives them a basis on which to learn. So I have always read to my child, and just the simple act of reading to children on a regular basis already teaches them all the pre-reading and writing skills that they need to have when they get to school. So if you can find a few books or come to a Buk Bilong Pikinini library in the afternoon and read with your children, you'll see that once they get to school, they'll really excel very early, and they'll be able to understand just basic concepts very quickly because they will have already processed what letter formation looks like, what things sound like, and then it will be easier for them to read. And as you know, children are sponges at that age, 4 and 5 year olds. They just want to ask questions about the world, and they have a natural curiosity. And so it's so important to get to them at that age.
Encouragement from parents to read. Encouragement from teachers to read. If we continue to drive that message to the children, that will, I guess, make them change that habit. But not change the habit, but know the difference between reading and not reading. Because if you read, you are able to expand your knowledge on many other things that are out there.
You parents must not forget, you are the first teachers. You teach your children first before they go into the classroom. So Library Buk Bilong House is the resource that you need to build, and you must build, I should say, so that you can get good reading materials, now good reading information that is available readily in your own homes, so that your children will have access to the information, to books, and to all kinds of various information that is in there to encourage and enhance literacy, numeracy in your own family first. Then get out and cover the entire country and the world.
When starting children off with reading at an early age, the materials must be catchy and enjoyable. This will inspire and motivate them to excel when they start their formal education. Reading is also a contributing factor that will motivate children to be writers of their own stories. Children from Tatana Island and Koki in the nation's capital who have been attending the Buk Bilong Pikinini libraries have 2 books published recently, and these books will be added to their library shelves.
What we're trying to do in Buk Bilong Pikinini is to ensure that we provide every library with more than 3,000 books, but we also have to make sure that Papua New Guinea children can recognize themselves in the books that they find on our shelves. And so again, that's the start of our new venture, to ensure we have culturally appropriate books on our shelves for the kids to read.
Parents would start encouraging very young children to read our newspapers. Bible can be a very good example. Read a lot of Bible or small story books. Read anything, even when they are taking the children to the shopping centers or reading signboards or reading anything that is on the road or at the stores.
The Olsem Wanem team managed to talk to some students who use the public library at Waigani. These students are frequent library goers. But first, let's take a look at views from people on public libraries.
The non-existence of public libraries throughout the country is obvious, and the importance of libraries should be a priority for the country's leaders. The 21st century Papua New Guinea needs public libraries, yet they are scarce. If Papua New Guinea is to build a strong economy, every Papua New Guinean needs to contribute. Public libraries will play a vital role in providing resources that will enhance one's understanding of how important it is to contribute to nation building.
I think the first thing is access. So if it's almost impossible for you or as a parent, to get hold of books, that's the first factor. So the fact that there's no public libraries. So I think that people need to ask their local members for, the reinstallation of public libraries.
Public libraries, I think we don't have many. We don't have many libraries, and we only have a few libraries. But most of the time, people don't make use of our libraries, especially school children. Those who are in secondary or elementary or primary schools don't make good use of our libraries. So one of our, we have seen, one achievement that we, Buk Bilong Pikinini, have is that we are now having children coming in after school, coming in and making use of our libraries. And maybe in the near future, our governments would look into our public libraries. So public libraries can be set up in its suburbs or maybe one or two suburbs, so that kids can just come in and sit down and read books and do assignments or homeworks or something like that.
Our resources in the library, particularly at the National Library, is not as good as it should be. We need the whole library, the public library reading section, to be flooded with books. As you go into a library now, you will see a good number of the shelves, if not most shelves, are empty. They've got no books in those shelves. And that, I want to see that practice go, and I'd like to see all the shelves in the National Library filled, and that the users of the National Library, could go in and actually use them. Although it's not a public library as such, it's a national library for the country. However, this is the only library that is operating at the moment, apart from the institutional libraries like the universities or colleges. This is sometimes treated as a public library, which is not. It's only a very small section of the National Library is called the public library section. Otherwise, the whole library is a national library, and it does not provide the services as you might like to see as being a public library. No. This is where we want to see the whole National Library being, if you like to say, upgraded and given more attention by the government.
The time is now for leaders to take the public library as a priority for community development. The current situation is that we have students who have been using the public library located within the National Library in Port Moresby. These students share with Olsem Wanem how the limited resources available help them with their studies.
About the resources, it has helped me a lot. During my studies, homework came here to do some research.
About the library, the resources are helpful. They help me a lot in terms of my studies.
I'm here at National Library, reading, studying with my friends outside the National Library. We're here to research on something that our teacher had given us some assignment to do over the weekends. We're just doing our lab report for physics.
Weekends, I usually come to the library to do my work, maths work and science, every school works, activities. So it helped me a lot.
Time the school finish, there's a library. I'm just studying about. Na time the local library, I'm just studying. House, I'm a time there's a library, I'm a time there's a camp. I'm just studying library na. Study finish, I'm just go back in house. I'm just borrow him, some book number. I'm just go house and study.
Having well-resourced school libraries will help children develop a positive reading habit when they have proper reading sessions with their teachers. As citizens of this country, let us boost our reading culture by picking up a book today and teaching someone else to read.
And that's all we have time for on Olsem Wanem. If you have any comments or stories you would like to share, please contact us via the address on your screen or visit us on our Facebook page. For now, enjoy the rest of your viewing on your #1 station, EMTV.